I guess let's do some watch this, everyone.
Yeah. Let's do it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure out a name for that segment.
No, we're not. It's fun to even not have a name.
Watch this, Spider-Man.
Right.
You know what? It'll be our most listened to show.
Right. Apparently, a lot of people like Spider-Man and went to see this movie.
Did it make a ridiculous amount of money?
It made all the money. The money.
Third largest opening ever?
Third largest opening in cinema history.
Yeah, like during pandemic.
Yikes. That's kind of a yikes. Maybe, shit. It seems like a bad idea, maybe, to put this movie out now.
Not for
them. It'd be nice if they would just maybe speed up that delivery to Disney Plus. Or,
I think there's probably some contract obligations with Sony there.
Right. They probably can't do
right.
They probably can't change their mind.
There is. It's really weird because the Sony doesn't have their own streaming service, and they will sell their streaming.
The Crackle-Acken. Did they get rid of that?
Crackle.
Crackle. It's called PS View, I think, isn't it?
Because there are no Spider-Mans on Disney Plus.
I thought they showed up for a little while. Did they not?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yep.
So, do you guys like Spider-Man or what? That's the important question.
The crazy thing, so we went and saw it on Tuesday at noon, right? Like Tuesday at noon was when we had time to go see it. And we show up at 11:30 because this is it's a lunchtime showing, and this is one of those restaurants that serves food, or one of these theaters that serves food. All restaurants theoretically serve food.
You would hope.
So we show up at 11:30 and all the doors are locked. All the theater doors are locked. And this 15-year-old kid in his theater uniform comes over and just tells us the managers didn't show up. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Uh-oh. Did you help?
I'm
I know. Step 1, open this door. Step 2, turn on everything.
Yeah.
Step 3, make the popcorn.
So they had to call somebody, because all they had was teenagers there. All the teenagers showed up because they knew they were supposed to show up. None of the managers did. And so they finally got a hold of somebody who had a key to get into the place.
Wombat, what did the teenager sound like when Shipwreck came to the door?
I don't know, sir. Sorry, sir. The doors are locked. None of the managers showed up.
We know.
So we're standing out there for 15 minutes, and then somebody obviously shows up because we can see into the windows. We see movement. We can see the people walking around in there. The teenager is in there now. And they made us stay outside for 15 more minutes while we could see them turning on all the icy machines, right, and the popcorn machine.
See, I was right. Already. I could be the manager.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the manager ever showed. I think assistant to the manager showed up and got things running.
Right.
So then this is the fabulous times of going to the theater. Then we sit through, I don't know, it felt like 45 minutes of trailers.
Mm-hmm.
It was an absurd amount of trailers before this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 minutes in, the 2 or 3 year old that was in the theater just noped out completely and just is throwing a fit.
Why is there a 2 or 3 year old in the theater? That seems like bad.
Because people take really young children to see Spider-Man movies.
I didn't have any young children at my Spider-Man showing. It sounds like you just went to a shitty theater.
No, people are shitty. People are just shitty.
Yeah, how there's not a upscale.
That sounds upscale if it's a fucking restaurant.
Everybody can go to the theater that buys a ticket. It's not like there's an exclusive, hey, no kids theater here.
The one behind me is right here.
Is it?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Very exclusive.
So once all that drama was out, I enjoyed the Spider-Man movie, but the theater experience would have been a lot nicer right here.
Yeah. Oh yes.
A couple feet that way would have been preferred.
It's gonna be a movie. I can't imagine the movie that's gonna get me back to the theater. I don't know what it is. It's not gonna be Spider-Man for sure, but I don't even know what it would be. What what it would have to be.
You don't have that much joy in your life, so can't imagine a movie that would make you leave the house.
No, that's the opposite, actually, of that, I believe.
You have too much joy in your life, so you don't need to go.
Right.
You don't need to go see a Spider-Man.
Right. I can see it later, is what I'm saying, here, and have more joy watching it here and not have to go and sit there for 3.5 hours instead of 2.5 hours here and stop any time and pee and make my own food.
Oh,
I
had to go out and pee during the movie as well.
I did as well. That was definitely a pee break.
Bro.
But I knew exactly, my brain knew exactly when the right time was.
45 minutes. Yeah, I did too. I could figure it out. Like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be talking. I know what's going to happen here.
I know exactly what this conversation is going to be.
Yeah. This is it. This is my moment to shine.
Yep.
And yeah, there was literally like 3 people that left during the same scene I did to go out and pee.
Yeah, you could. It was probably the same scene for both of us.
I can tell you, the movie that gets me back to the theater is also not going to be a superhero movie, because it's just so many superhero movies in like so short of a time period, and they're good. I get it, they're good. Like they're not. I can't shit on them. They're fine. They're good. They're entertaining. But it's like I get it. Like maybe a break.
Well, there's going to be a break now. Because you're not going to get any more Marvel stuff until May. So you get a Marvel. It's 6 months. You get a 6-month Marvel break.
There's so much.
That feels long to me. I don't know. I want more Marvel stuff faster.
It's a lot.
I also saw the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed the Spider-Man.
I feel like you enjoyed it more than Shipwreck, based on.
I liked it a little bit more than Shipwreck.
Yeah.
Probably not a ton more than Chip.
Right.
I think that it's one of those movies that while you're watching it, you're like, yeah, this movie's great. And then you're in the car on the way home and you're going, what the fuck was that?
Shipwreck shaking his head, yes.
I had some of that during the movie. Like I give it a solid like 8 out of 10. Like I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It hit all the like.
And I said an 8.5.
I know this stuff. Yes, I know all this.
Did you clap?
No,
when you
there
saw
was some
blank
scenes I would say that I smiled to. Like
smiling is good.
Smiling's good. I think it's of these 3 latest Spider-Man movies, I think I like it the least out of the 3.
Interesting.
I think it just is a little bit more pandering than the other 2 were.
There's a lot of pandering in this. I think there are moments in some of the other films that are better. I think like the Mysterio fight, when he goes to Berlin where he thinks he's meeting Nick Fury, and it's the whole Mysterio illusion fight in the second Spider-Man movie. This isn't a spoiler for the 3rd movie. I'm talking about a movie from 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The Mysterio fight, that fight scene is probably better than anything in the new Spider-Man movie. I think that's probably the most like comic book accurate thing yet put on a screen that could never have been done before that we've seen in a Spider-Man movie, if that makes any sense, and is probably more pandering to a hardcore Spider-Man fan than anything else those movies have done. This movie never, to me, doesn't ever really top that. But if I'm saying that's the pinnacle, it's like just below that.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is far behind those other 2. I just think it's my least favorite of the.
I was setting the bar for what I think the top is.
So it's basically Spider-Man not far behind.
Yeah.
From the others.
Yes. Yeah.
I also
Spider-Man not far behind the others. I know a lot of people love it. I understand it. I understand why people are so into it. I also understand why they left it the way they did. It makes sense to me. I know that they were trying to get to a point and they got to the point.
That's part of without saying much more than that, that's part of the problem I have with it. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this movie has to end here. Yep. I don't care how you do it, but is it Amy Pascal? Is that her name? The Sony producer. She's like, this movie has to end right here. And if it doesn't end, I don't care what happens before here, but I need here. So, but I have so many questions about that. And it also, it does take from a fairly notorious issue of the comics, which I know Shipwreck is familiar with.
Yeah.
That actually
I'm familiar with a lot of this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you are. It does crib from some really good issues, but it also cribs from the worst.
Transformers number 3.
Yeah,
crib from that?
part of the problem is Into the Spider-Verse as well,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
You have to compete against that movie, and that might be the best Spider-Man movie ever made.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's good.
So
Yeah,
it's not
All
worth
Spider-Man
getting COVID?
movies are pretty good.
Okay, good.
And the Amazing ones weren't all that great, but
They were
watched
fine.
them.
All right, well, I will continue to wait for it to be released here. It sounds like I should rewatch the Mysterio one, because I don't really remember that one.
That movie, I just rewatched it because we had Marvel Day, at my,
Who
with
could
my
forget?
friend.
I have that on my
Yeah,
calendar.
A couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, we had Marvel Day with my friends, and we rewatched that movie. And I'm not saying that movie's perfect, but that one particular scene to me is like, yeah, this is what I want in my Spider-Man fights Mysterio movie. It's better than the final fight, but again, I'm not going into what the problems are with the second Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
I don't know anything about this one. I didn't watch any trailers or read anything about it. So
You literally know nothing about this?
I mean,
You're
I
like
know
the
this
one
like
person.
multiverse. I know multiverse probably.
Okay, you know that. Okay.
And that's and I think I saw
That's all
Doctor Strange somewhere.
Okay. Yep.
And
Doctor Strange is somewhere.
And then I
he
saw-
may or may not be in the movie, but he is somewhere.
And I'm pretty sure I saw like scenes of it from a fake trailer, like a fan-made trailer, similar to like that Star Wars trailer, Star Wars trailer from back in the day where they put like Jimmy Smits in it and like drew in all the lightsabers over what was it, Braveheart. Anyway, do you remember that? I've been watching some
Braveheart
stuff.
is in this. Braveheart is in the Spider-Man
Did
movie.
they just CG over Braveheart in this movie?
they
Because
just-
it saved some bucks.
mhm. It was weird because I thought Mel Gibson is a little iffy, but why not?
He's back in movies. It seems like nothing happened.
I know.
He could
It
be
was
in the
weird
next
that he played a Spider-Man from another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Australian.
I'm Jew hating Spider-Man. Jew hating. Hey,
Welcome aboard.
welcome aboard. Hey, sugar tits, suck my webs.
Oh, those Mel Gibson tapes were
Mhm.
provided a lot of hours of entertainment on the Howard Stern show.
Yep.
All right, I've been watching some stuff. First of all, I've watched the show that you recommended, Wombat, on one of your favorites of 2021.
Oh, what'd you watch? What'd you watch?
Smash.
And what'd you think? What'd you think?
I wasn't feeling well like yesterday and the day
Okay.
before, so I figured like that was some light entertainment that I can consume in 30-minute chunks without like being overwhelmed by it. It's surprisingly dark and depressing for a send-off of 90s children's Saturday morning cartoons.
I didn't want to say too much because if you know that going in, this part of me is like, is it ruin it for you? I don't know if that's a spoiler.
No, it's actually, I think you would want to know that going in.
Did you like it?
I could appreciate it. I laughed a couple times.
It's not a laughing show.
Not particularly, no. I think I like the criddle creatures.
the
I forget
criddles? Yeah,
the criddles.
yeah.
I forget what it's called.
Mhm.
That bit the best. The dinosaur thing is like super depressing. Randy
The dinosaur thing is like, and yet there's part of me, like I said, I wanted to know what happens. Like I wanted to find out.
It's weird.
Like, does he make it through? How does this work out? And again, it's a send off of Denver the Last Dinosaur. I'll explain this to Shipwreck. You familiar with Denver the Last Dinosaur? The dinosaur who he's a dinosaur, and now he's in our times, and he hangs out with like children because
He's the last of his kind or something. Or no?
I'm not familiar. This was an actual show?
This is an actual show. Yeah,
I'm not familiar with this
Denver
show.
the Last. Am I saying it right? Am I right?
Uh-oh.
Denver?
You need a fact check in aisle 4.
Yeah, I'm
Not-
doing it
I'm
now.
I'll
not
look it up.
familiar with this.
Denver the dinosaur.
Yeah,
Yep.
Denver the Last Dinosaur. It was on in
Hmm.
1988, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
So I'm the right age for this. I was right. Okay, because I was starting to Denver the Last Dinosaur. He's a
Yeah,
dinosaur.
I remember this.
He
Oh, I
wears-
remember this
Yeah.
guy.
He
I
wears
didn't watch this
sunglasses.
crap. It's the dinosaur with the sunglasses. I didn't watch
Yeah.
that.
So they made
Yeah,
a
and it-
spoof of that in the show, and it looks exactly like this. And they did an amazing job, like emulating the cartoons of the era. Like it looks perfect, really, in every way. They did like a sort of a send off of Thundercats meets, I don't know, Captain Planet called Strongimals, or maybe there's something else that's based on, but it's I don't know. It's got a few laughs. If you're sick, I guess it's okay. I'd have a hard time like wholeheartedly recommending this to somebody.
It is I never said this show was for everybody.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was
am
surprised.
very well aware that this is a very narrow audience
Yeah,
show
yeah,
for very specific people.
yeah.
I am one of those people. And I thought you might like it because I know you're a fan of that.
Yeah.
I think you should leave Tim and Eric style comedy.
Yeah.
And this definitely is like a, an heir to that. It's definitely influenced by those types of shows, but it's also its own kind of thing. It's its own thing.
Sure. It was a little heavier than I wanted when I wasn't feeling well. But no, I would say you should check it out if you grew up during that era, and you definitely get a kick out of watching their their remixed cartoons, basically.
Yeah. The one that you like, the Critimals, which is basically Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Care Bears, but with like
mixed up
with drugs and depression. It's good.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. On the lighter side, which is exactly what I was looking for, is this show called Singles Inferno, which just came out on Netflix. This is a Korean dating reality show. I think it's very similar to Love Island. I haven't watched that show, but I've never seen a Korean dating show, and I was like, I don't know.
Neither have I.
I mean, a lot of people haven't, and the trailer, like, the women looked pretty hot, and it's in 4K and looked like they spent a lot of money on. I was like, let me see if I can convince Mrs. GB to watch it. And we watched the first 2 episodes, which is all that's out right now. It's like, the interesting thing about this is because, like, on these American versions of these shows, there's always a lot of assholes on the show. And it's like, it's kind of annoying to watch all these assholes, but people seem really genuine on this show. Like, they're really just looking to like meet people and hook up. And the idea is they're on this island. It's called, so the idea is it's called Inferno Island. Okay. And it's a really, like, literally a hot island. Like, it's 9,500 degrees. And it's like 5 women and 6 guys. And if they pair up, they get to go to, I forget what it's called, Fantasy Island or whatever. They get to go to like a luxurious resort. It has air conditioning.
Air conditioning island. They get to go to air conditioning island.
Exactly. And also like maybe fuck too. Like, you never know. Maybe not. Like, they seem pretty, like, Korea seems pretty pretty conservative. Like, they're not that horny. At least they don't talk about like sex and stuff. And the other idea is they're not allowed to talk about their age or their profession unless they pair up at Fantasy Island or whatever it was, fucking Paradise Island. I don't know. We watched the first 2 episodes. It's pretty compelling. I don't know what to say.
Subtitled?
Yes. I mean, or you can get it either way, I think.
I don't know if I can watch subtitled reality sex shows.
It's not, but it's cute.
I mean,
it's
it's already like the dregs of television, and now I have to read it.
Well, it's dubbed too.
It's more artsy that way.
There's a dubbed one, and this one, like, really, it doesn't seem.
I might as well just watch foreign pornography. Oh, that's where he wants her to stick it.
But there's not. It doesn't have that because it's so conservative. It's like they don't talk about sex in the first 2 episodes. There hasn't been any mention of any sex at all, and not even innuendo, anything. I think they're really. Korea is a pretty conservative country, and yeah, I don't know. It's good. Like, I don't know. It held our attention for 2 episodes. They have 2 new episodes every Saturday. Mrs. Cheapy's in. I sent it to I have a friend who's Korean, and I sent it to her, and she made fun of it like immediately, but then she started watching it, and she's hooked on it now. So there we are. It's called Singles Inferno. It just came out on Netflix. And we just started watching one other thing on Amazon Video called LuLaRich, which is a documentary about
LuLaRoo.
LuLaRoo.
I just said it.
LuLaRoo. Yeah.
I know. I just said it.
I'd never heard of it before.
Really?
Yeah. Why would I? It's women's clothing.
I don't know.
But it's apparently like it was this really successful women's clothing company. They sell leggings too. But it was also like an Amway type situation where it's like multi-level marketing.
My wife had a lot of like acquaintances and friends that were into the LuLaRich thing. And she
Incredibly
used to-
popular.
I'm not saying like there would be like in some weeks where it'd be like 3 nights a week. She would like my wife, because she's a nice person, would watch like a friend do their stream of the LuLaRich stuff they were selling
On Zoom they were doing
on
it.
Zoom. Yeah, they would do it on like well, this was before the pandemic, so it would be like on Facebook chat video.
Oh, okay.
things usually.
That's one thing I
And-
wasn't sure in the show. So they even did that shit over Zoom and stuff before the pandemic. Okay.
Yes. Because my wife would sit there and I'd like walk in and go, "What are you listening to?" She's like, "So and so is doing a LuLaRich." I said I would join it, and she like felt obligated. She never like
It's a Tupperware
signed up.
party, but
Yeah,
for dresses.
she never sold the crap.
Right.
We knew it was a scam in our house.
See, I never
but-
heard of this thing. So we're learning all about it. And yeah, it was like a huge, like this business that came out of nowhere. And just like that, they would basically recruit like housewives to sell
It's a pyramid
dresses to their
scheme.
friends. Well, they say it's just multi-level marketing, but
That's
a pyramid.
multi-level.
The
is
multi
also-
levels. It comes
no,
in
but
a triangular form.
Amway is not considered a pyramid scheme, but it's still multi-level marketing. So there's a way to do it where it's not
Yes, it
illegal.
is.
Well, it's not
Well,
illegal, obviously.
It's not an
'cause-
illegal pyramid scheme. It's still a pyramid
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I've only watched one out of these 4 episodes, and it's really well done and interesting because the owners of the company they're
Crooks.
they're Mormons.
Mhm.
They're both Mormons. They both they have like an obnoxious amount of children, like 12, like I don't more, between like adopted children and birth children, and they just seem completely obsessed with money. The interesting thing is, we've only watched the first episode, but even though their whole business is dresses. Sorry.
It's not dresses, it's leggings.
Well, dresses. No, it started out as
Oh,
dresses.
there are dresses.
Yeah,
They
it
do have
actually started out as these maxi dresses, but then
Yeah.
I guess the leggings took off. But
My wife has a couple of things that she bought that she doesn't have them anymore. This is like years ago.
anyway, but they only talk about money. Is my point. They talk about like how much money they can make, but they never talk about like their passion for fashion or dresses. Just more about like, hey, we're a family and we make money. Anyway, it's really interesting so far. Not to be confused with Lululemon, which is what I thought this was.
That's a different thing.
That's a different
LuLaRich
fancy
thing.
thing.
It's a different. Lululemon is stores and it's a little more high end and better
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah.
LuLaRich is kind of crappy quality. My wife did watch this whole thing. I remember when she watched it,
Oh, okay.
and she's like, I will never wear another. I will
Oh,
never
yeah.
wear another LuLaRich thing again.
I'm sure.
I won't do any of these things again. I don't care. And at this point, that was kind of dead, and she didn't have any of it anymore anyway. But she's like, I'm glad this isn't a thing anymore. Like
I
she
think
was
they're
like,
still in business though. I know they're in this documentary. They're being investigated by the government for a pyramid scheme.
Mhm.
And you get to watch the depositions and stuff. It's cool. So it's called LuLaRich, and it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. I watched on HBO Max. There's a new documentary. It's called Street Gang: How We Got to Sesame Street, and it's a documentary about how Sesame Street was basically created.
Oh, cool! I'd watch
and
that.
put on the air. It's really a documentary. It basically just covers the first like 10, 12 years, like 1969 to like 1982 of Sesame Street,
Okay.
the prime years of Sesame Street. I thought it was pretty fascinating. There were obviously I have vague memories of 1977 to 1982 Sesame Street, but it was really cool. It was interesting to see. It was interesting to see, not that Jim Henson did so little on the show, but when you say Sesame Street, I do in your brain, you're like, oh yeah, that's a Jim Henson thing. He didn't do any of the writing. He didn't do any of the directing. He didn't do any of the producing. He just basically, showed up and performed as Ernie and he was a performer, and
Is he not a
supplied
big
the
part of
Muppets.
the documentary, or?
He is,
Okay.
but it's also like, and these are the people that created Sesame Street, and here's how, don't get me wrong, adding Jim Henson makes Sesame Street. Him just being there changes everything.
Sesame Street, right. You said Sesame Street, but I'm thinking Muppet Show, and
Yeah, not the
That's-
Muppet
that
Show.
got
I think you
really
were a little
confused.
bit more instrumental in the
yeah,
Muppet
yeah.
Show.
That's why I got really confused. I was like, and I was just
Well,
thinking about Jim Henson
Yeah,
this
there's
week
always-
too.
There's always been that kind of like divide between Muppets and Sesame Street, right? Like
Mhm,
they
yeah.
cross over a little bit, but it's not. It's never quite been the same thing.
Right.
Right.
That's
Right.
That's interesting. Okay.
But Kermit starts on Sesame Street before he's on, and they talk about all sorts of, it's very interesting if you grew up at a time where Sesame Street was the only kid show that you had when you were a kid, then you're going to really enjoy this documentary.
We had that, and we had Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and he had a lot
Mr.
of
Rogers.
stuff. He had a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but that was on after Sesame Street.
I don't remember the times that they were on, but
And they talked about, like, did you know that Sesame Street was banned in Mississippi in the early 70s?
I wouldn't be
assumed
surprised.
it.
Because there were too many
Too many Jews on the show.
too many black people on the cast,
Oh,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
wouldn't air it in Mississippi.
Too close.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember when they decided to have Mr. Snuffleupagus become like everybody could see him, and it
Mhm.
wasn't just Big Bird's imagination, because people thought they might be sending the bad message to kids that parents wouldn't believe them if they had told them about some horrible thing that happened to them. That was
Smart.
back in the day. Yeah, I mean they
Mhm.
think about these things. Anyway, so that's just called Street Gang.
Mm-hmm.
Gang.
It's short. It's only an hour and 40 minutes. It's on HBO Max.
That's not short. That's
not
like
short.
the
It's-
right.
it's
It's
not-
the right amount
Yeah.
of programming.
There you go. It's the right length at
For that.
near
Yes.
far. Is a
Yeah. Cool. Before we move on, Shanafan had a couple questions. He wanted to know, I guess people were clapping a lot during Spider-Man. I don't know if that happened to you guys. That happened to you guys in your theaters? Were
yes. People
clapping?
clapped in my theater. Yes.
Nobody claps in Ohio theaters.
Really?
It is not a thing that happens here ever.
Ever? In any movie?
Never. I have never been in a theater here in the greater Cincinnati area where
Okay.
people have clapped.
What about, let's move, I need to focus in on this for a second. What about like in a horror movie situation? Do people like gasp and like
Not like
not too much?
abnormally. Yeah, not like I'm making a scene.
Okay. Following up,
Yes.
did you happen to see Blair Witch Project in the theater?
I did.
What was the response of the audience to that? The end,
We
at
sat
the
there
end.
and watched.
At
We
the
sat there
end.
and watched it.
There was
You-
no
you-
response at the end?
No, there's no response. We're all dead.
Wow.
inside
What
when we watch
about
movies
like
here.
I know you
It's,
saw
it's not
Endgame.
it's not an experience.
That's
Like,
crazy to me.
Nobody does anything like unless you're a crying like toddler or baby in a movie.
There's
you
no-
just sit there and you watch it.
I like that. First of all, I would prefer that to taking like, the ups and downs of like that really cool audience response when you're watching something like Blair Witch Project, and like the shitty audience response where people are talking to the screen. So that is interesting. See, I'm learning new things. So many new things. People are emotionless when they watch movies in theaters in Ohio. That's throughout Ohio, not just in Cincinnati.
It,
Have you
it
been?
was that way in Columbus and it was the way
Okay.
in Cincinnati.
That's interesting.
So like I've never been to a theater where people have
Wow.
made any kind of like emotional response other than like the standard like just laughing
Right.
or yeah.
Right.
I
Oh
remember
God.
my theater kind of like losing their shit at like the end of Endgame. I think the end of Endgame was like
I remember, many movies where the audience had big reactions, like Blair Witch Project. At the end of the Blair Witch Project, I remember watching that movie in Manhattan on, I think, 34th Street, 2nd Avenue, and I remember the whole fucking theater flipped out at the end, like just like jumped out of their seats at the end, literally, and freaked out collectively. I remember like seeing the original Batman in the theater, and when they showed the Batmobile for the first time, that people fucking just went apeshit. Despite the fact that we probably saw it in the trailer, like the commercial a million times. There's a million things like that, but not in Ohio. No response. Just keep eating the popcorn. That's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, you're there to watch the movie, not
well, the good
Okay.
thing
Not
is
clap
that
at
when people
screen.
clap during my movie, everyone on the screen stops for a minute and waits for the clapping to die
They
down.
build that into the movie. They know.
Yeah, that's
it's
like-
awkward when you're in Ohio and there's just
in
that
Ohio,
dead
we're just like
air.
sitting there going, get on with it. What's
They're
going
like,
on?
don't worry, I'm here. I'm Spider-Man. Hold for applause.
Wow.
Then we
Interesting.
swing.
Shanafan also asked if Ben Gilbert claps when his plane lands. I don't know what he.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
I'm
don't
not
understand
Ben
the question.
Gilbert.
I
Me
don't
neither. I don't know where that comes
Where,
from.
where was he getting at? What was he getting at there? I don't know.
I don't know.
'Cause I said something about Ben last week. Oh, that he's never been to a resort. But I don't
I've
know.
been on planes where people have clapped. on the
Definitely.
plane in this land.
People in my
Yeah.
family, I've been on the planes. I remember my grandma
Well,
used to
yeah,
clap.
but to be fair, when you're clapping on a plane, you're clapping for a human being that is in the presence of your applause. You're clapping
Sure.
for
Yeah,
a
it
pilot.
almost seems more reasonable than the clapping
Yeah.
at a movie
It
screen.
is more
It
reasonable.
does. Yeah. When you clap at Spider-Man on the movie screen, he doesn't know you clapped. I
Ugh.
hate to break the illusion.
I remember seeing. Do you remember the movie Arachnophobia?
Uh-huh.
Sure.
With John
I like that movie.
Goodman,
John
right?
Goodman and Jeff Daniels.
I remember seeing that movie in Boston. I was in.
Harley Jane Kozak. Is that who's in
I
that too?
have no
Anyway.
idea, but I remember seeing it in Boston, in the city of Boston, and just a group of people. Every time the spiders came on the screen, a group of women just like were talking to the characters in the movie about looking how they needed to look out for the spiders, and oh my god, the spiders are so big. The entire movie, just the entire movie. That was a long fucking time ago, by the way.
They were prepared. They knew what they were coming into. They had thought it through.
I should have went to Ohio that summer and not Boston. I could have really enjoyed the movie experience more.